Hey guys, Mr. Tolly. I am going to make a sheath, and this one's for my Mora Companion. And I'm going to do this for Mike DeLucia, who has been asking about how to make a fold-over knife sheath. This is a pretty easy one to make. It's not real complicated. I did put a ferro rod loop on mine. Not sure if we'll do that with this one or not, but we probably will. I did use a white top stitch on this. To go a little different with this one, not much. I'm going to use some artificial sinew when I make this one, and I'm going to make this one's going to be black. How well it shows up in the video. This one's brown. So we're going to make another one. I've got this piece of leather is the last of a hide. Before I start a new one, I want to see if I can lay out 3 projects. This is going to be a holster for my Ruger Blackhawk, and it's going to take a significant chunk here of this piece. Fortunately, this side's not perfect and it's not too bad, but for my own sheath or for my own holster, it'll be fine. So we want to find the best way to lay it out to make the best use of the leather. And I think this here is going to do it for that one. I want to lay out, this is the pattern for the knife sheath. And I'm going to make a copy of this pattern and send it to Mike so he's got one. And that could go about like that. And then I've got a magazine carrier that's going to be 2 pieces. So the bigger piece we're going to lay right there. And the other piece, and when I do this I want to make sure that I got them so the outsides are, one of them's going to have the face of the leather towards the back and the other one's going to be towards the front. So we're going to lay it out like this. All 3 pieces. And leaves me a little left over here. Probably squeak out another magazine pouch if I need to. And I'll probably play with this a little bit, see if I can find a better way to lay things out. Because you never know. Because I can shift this over a little like that. And maybe I can squeeze this in up here. Not there, I can't. But if I go a little different here, I can lay that there. And that there, or do I want to do this? Doesn't much matter. I wind up with about the same left over. But I think I'm going to lay it out this way. I'm going to take my red pen and outline all of this on here. And I'll be back. Well, this is what I decided. So I still have a big chunk here that is actually probably enough to make another knife sheath out of if I wanted to. Anyway, I'm going to cut this all out. So we'll be back in a bit when I'm ready to start working on the knife sheath. I don't yet know this holster that I'm going to make is a new design for me. It's something that I've never tried before, so I'm stoked about doing it, but I'm kind of nervous at the same time. It's a really significant amount of leather that I'm kind of using, and if it doesn't work out, I'm going to have to repurpose it. Mag pouch 2 is another design that I've never done before, but we'll see how it goes. So we'll be back in a few minutes. Hey guys, I'm back, and I got everything cut out. I did go around with my, I don't understand why this lighting has to suck so bad from here. my edge beveler. I went around the whole outside of the sheath because you can bevel it all. On the inside though, you only want to bevel this part and up your straps, or up your, this will fold over and be our belt loop. So you want to do all the way around that and just this inside part. So I'm going to go, I curved it here, it's kind of rounded, and I'm going to go from about halfway down that rounded part all the way up and around. But first, I want to try to line some stuff up so I know on the other side where I got to go to. So I'm just kind of, I'm using some pretty heavy leather, but that's the way I do my sheaths and my holsters and everything, because I want it to last a lifetime. So I've got my awl, and I'm going to go to about halfway around that, and I'm just going to make a mark, and I'm going to start at that mark, go up, around, and come around here to about halfway on this curve. Now I'm just going to start from the other side so that it all comes out decent. So I've beveled around everything. The next step is going to be sanding and burnishing. So I'm going to go ahead and sand this. I'm just going to use 220. I'm going to sand all this, round everything nicely. And then I'm going to dye burnish, which I've done in other videos. Just use my canvas, some black dye, and I'll try to do something about this stinking lighting here. I'll be back in a bit. I'm back. One thing that I'm going to have to do is there's going to have to be some dye applied. We're going to want to dye the inside, and we're going to have to dye the outside wherever this belt loop is going to wind up. So the belt loop is going to go probably about, well, it'll go a little farther down than that, I think. Probably about like so. It's hard to actually gauge it, but this one came out just right where I wanted it. So I'm going to kind of, right about there. And I'm just going to kind of press a little bend in there for the time being. When it comes to wet forming, we'll wet form that in. Down here, I'm going to have to, this is really thick, so I'm going to have to skive some off back here. So I'm going to come up about an inch. And what skiving is I'm going to remove about, in this case, you can skive down to nothing. In this case, I'm going to skive down to about half the thickness of the leather. Now, you can use this. This is a craft tool, super skiver, which would be the preferred tool to do this. But I know not everybody has one of these, so let's break out what I used to use. the Mora 511. And I get right close to the edge of my bench so I can take advantage of the flattest part of the blade and just use a sawing motion. Be really careful doing this. I have cut myself before. I've cut myself lots of times actually. So now the very end is roughly half the thickness of the full leather. So I do keep this knife extremely sharp for things like this, and it's always in a sheath. There you go. Now I'm going to dye the inside, which I'll probably use a couple of coats. Just take my dauber and just start dyeing away. Now on the other side, I'm going to want to see, it kind of left an impression where I'm going to come down to, right about here. So I'm going to dye everything. The nice thing about black dye is you can do this and you can still blend it later. With brown it's a little bit more difficult. So you don't have to dye that part that you skived, but I usually do. And I'll go over, a couple of coats here, a couple coats over the entire inside. Then from about here up on the inside, well, we'll show you that when we get to it. So I'm going to get the rest of the dye applied, and it's going to have to dry overnight. So I'll get back with you tomorrow.